Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for dropping by. Have you ever wondered what it was like to live in Hollywood around the glitz and the glamour and know all the cool Hollywood people? Well, I did when I was a child. I liked old Hollywood. I was kind of like Ralph Lauren. I wanted to be a clothing designer as a kid, and a friend of mine ended up being with Ralph Lauren. And that was his inspiration. It was also mine. And then I saw Wolfman Jack and decided I wanted to do radio, and here I am. But today's guest is my pathway back to old Hollywood, back to the glitz and the glamour and the fun times and the exciting times. And when they did the Academy Awards over at the Roosevelt and all the exciting things that happened in Hollywood, from John Wayne to Johnny Carson to Phyllis Diller, who was one of my favorites, Robin Williams, Elvis, and then you end up having Joan Crawford as part of your family, and then one of your best friends is Michael Landon. That is a Hollywood dream for me. My guest is going to be part of that. He's going to tell some stories, and he's going to tell you. Here's the great thing about Bruce. He's been my mentor in the entertainment business for years, and I got my first TV show. I was there with Bruce, and he's got the knowledge that you need to get ahead in the area you want to be in. If you want to know about PR, Bruce is going to tell you. And his mentor, the funny thing was he had a great mentor. It was his mom. Now, I'm not going to spoil that story. I want Bruce to tell who his mother was. But he had the coolest parents on the planet, and I'm envious that I didn't get to have them as my parents. But also today, got to get to the sponsor, Dirt Pour Coffee. They always keep me powered for every episode. Go by and see the girls. Wonderful environment, wonderful people. And the great thing is the coffee's really good. I can't complain. It's my favorite coffee. They've spoiled me now. I can't drink coffee anywhere else other than Dirt Pour. All right, let's go ahead and get Bruce on because I don't want to waste any time. Bruce, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's an honor and a privilege. And let me just tell you, you are one of the best speakers that I've ever seen. 53 years in the business. You are one of the best, but thank you for that very kind intro. And I love you, and I love Patricia.
Yeah, if the people don't know, Bruce and my wife are very close, and my wife's lovely. Everybody loves her in the industry. I can't go anywhere without her. All right, Bruce, I want to start with, okay, you're a speaker agent and you're a PR guy. I want to go back to the mentorship you got. A wonderful lady really helped you learn the business and the ropes, and that would be your mom. What was that like, working with your mom?
I could almost have tears now just thinking about it. I was so blessed. My mom lived to be 98 and a half, but literally, Scott, everything in my life goes back to my mom. And when we talk about the entertainment industry, she was a goddess in the public relations industry. She started a movie and a film PR business. She was one of only two women that had a PR firm in the movie business, and she had a beautiful, beautiful office at General Service Movie Studios. So she was really a pioneer in PR. And as I said, I owe everything to her. The first story that I'd love to share with you, because
please.
This is all my mom. It's all my mom. When I was in high school, by the way, with Tom Selleck, Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, they were my best friends in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Mom said to me, I'm graduating from high school. She said, Bruce, I think you would love being in the film school at UCLA, the legendary film school. So I took my mom's advice, went to the film school, I graduated. So now I'm a UCLA film grad, and my mom says to me, Bruce, I think if you got a job at MGM Movie Studios, the most famous movie studio in the world, that would be great. A week later, thanks to Mom, I'm working at MGM Studios in the Thalberg building, the most famous movie building in all of history. The president of MGM comes into my office. I'm this young kid out of the UCLA Film School. He says, Bruce, I want you to have lunch with Elvis Presley. We have a brand new film. This was 1972.
Wow.
I want you to meet Elvis in the commissary. I want you to do the public relations on Elvis on Tour. It's MGM, a brand new film. So, Scott, I went into the commissary, again, thanks to my mom. I sat down to Elvis Presley, one of the most handsome guys I've ever seen. That smile is killer. So I sat down to Elvis, and I said, Elvis, we are really going to get along, Elvis. We are both mama's boys. We're both mama's boys. And Elvis loved that. So that started my career, thanks to my mom. My first PR client was Elvis Presley. Can't get better than that.
No, you can't. And the funny thing is, then we springboard, if you want to talk about clients with Bruce, I'm going to go back and I want to talk about your godmother. Bruce had quite the godmother. I believe that her name was Joan Crawford. Tell me about what it was like to work with Joan Crawford. Hollywood glitz and glamour, she's at the top.
Oh, she is, of course, Oscar Academy Award winner. And again, all these stories go back to my mom.
Yeah.
What happened was, and here's the Joan Crawford story. I worked with Elvis on that film at MGM for a year. Mom called me up at MGM. She said, Bruce, I know you're happy at MGM, but my PR firm is really growing and growing. Would you consider coming to the movie studio and working with my PR firm? So I did that. So the very first week, I walk into my mom's beautiful, luxurious office, and there is Joan Crawford seated at my mom's desk. Now, I recognized Joan Crawford immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said, oh, Joan, I am so honored. She gets up, gives me this bear hug. She says, Bruce, the best PR representative I have ever had in my life is your mom. So that was my entry into PR when I'm a young kid working with my mom. And then we got to work with Joan Crawford, thanks to my mom. And Joan was just an angel, an absolute angel. Back at the time, Scott, she had a Simon & Schuster book that was out. So Mom and I at that time were doing the PR. But working with Joan Crawford was a dream come true. And I'll never forget, later that day, we went to lunch at the Brown Derby, the famous Brown Derby, with Joan Crawford. So, I mean, that was my entry into PR with my mom, working with Joan Crawford.
You know, Bruce, I think my mother bought that book. My mom was a big Joan Crawford and the nemesis, Betty Davis. She was friends of both of those. But there is a lady I want to discuss, and she was one of my favorite comedians, Phyllis Diller. And do you have a story about Phyllis Diller? I mean, you talk about Hollywood and Hollywood Squares and all the roast. It's Phyllis Diller.
Yeah, I have a few really neat photos of Phyllis right here in the office.
Yeah.
And by the way, talking about Phyllis and my mom, the first time I took Phyllis to my mom's PR office to introduce, and I said, Mom, I know you know Phyllis. She's a pioneer in stand-up comedy, which she was.
Oh, yes.
And so Phyllis says, I may be a pioneer, but your mom is a pioneer, in the area of PR.
Oh, yes.
But there is one really funny story that I remember with Phyllis. She had such a great sense of humor. I had booked Phyllis for a very big event right here in Vegas, because I'm here in Vegas.
Right.
So we were flying on the airplane to Las Vegas, and she was going to do a big show at the Flamingo Hotel.
Yeah.
So right before the plane was landing, Phyllis came up to me. She says, Bruce, let's have some fun. So she went up. Back then, they were called stewardesses. Stewardesses back then. Now they're flight attendants. She said to the stewardess, can I get the microphone? I'd like to make an announcement. So they played along with Phyllis. So she grabbed the microphone. We're just landing and we're touching down. And so Phyllis, in her wonderful voice, she says, I want to advise all of you before we land, please take your stewardesses out of your lap right now. And it was so funny. I can't imitate her voice, but it was so cute the way that she said it. But she had an amazing sense of humor, and she was brilliant. And as you remember,
yes.
Fang, she had Fang, the dog.
Yes.
But she was brilliant because really she laid the groundwork for Joan Rivers and all the others that followed. And it actually was, please return your flight attendant to her full upright position. That's what she said on the flight. But I loved working with Phyllis, yes.
It was, and if you flew during that time, you would get the joke. You would understand the joke, and which leads me to somebody else, because now we think about women in comedy in that period of time. The precursor to that, Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball, then Phyllis, and now, I don't know who the big female comedian is, but then while we're on comedians, I believe you knew a guy named Robin Williams.
Yes, and I am so blessed that I got to work with so many luminaries and superstars. Robin Williams would be in my top 10 list, and I just loved him, and I got to meet him because, as you know, and we'll talk a little bit about Johnny Carson.
Yes,
I was at the Johnny Carson show probably 1,000 times, and
right.
Robin Williams he quickly became my favorite comic. On the Carson show, I've never seen anybody that was more of a genius than Robin. And the other thing, and I'll tell a story about Robin, not only was he an amazing stand-up comic, but a brilliant actor. He was an amazing actor. But what happened, I started booking Robin for paid engagements, for money. So I got this call from Bank of America. They were having their big annual meeting, and the Bank of America gentleman said to me, Bruce, would you be able to ask Robin Williams, would he consider showing up to our event? Right. There's going to be about 5,000 people in the audience. It would be a surprise. Would he consider showing up as Mrs. Doubtfire? So I said to him, look, I'll ask Robin. I said, I doubt if he's going to say yes, and I love your laugh. Your laugh is beautiful. So I called Robin up. He says, Bruce, that's a funny idea. Why don't we do it? So I'm sitting in the front row, and the announcer, there's 5,000 people in the audience. The announcer says, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest we want to bring out with a big round of applause. And Robin comes out as Mrs. Doubtfire. The crowd goes absolutely nuts because they knew. And then Robin took off some of his headgear and all. And he did 45 minutes, maybe the funniest stand-up that I've ever seen in my life. But the fact that he did that for me, I thought for sure that he would say no. But he just had this amazing sense of humor. And like I said, Robin was a genius. And working with Robin, I'll never, ever forget it. Never.
Wow, what a story, which brings me to one of your classmates. My buddy Thomas Baylor, who just recently passed away, worked with the Monkees. You went to high school with one of the Monkees. What was Mickey like in high school?
Mickey was great. Now, going back to high school, and some of the people watching may not know this, he was a young child actor on a TV series called Circus Boy. So he was the star of Circus Boy. So when I was at Van Nuys Junior High and Grant High with Mickey, he and I and also Tom Selleck, we were all best friends. So in high school, this was before, of course, the Monkees.
Right.
He had notoriety because of the fact that he was a TV star from Circus Boy. And I'll never forget, as seniors, he sat next to me in our history class. So he was a dear, dear friend. But of course, he goes on to be with the Monkees. And I have Mickey's cell phone number. I talk with him all the time. He's such a talent. And I love Mickey. And also Tom Selleck from that same high school class. What a blessing. They were my two really good friends in high school. We can't get better than that.
I know it. It's funny because I have a friend who's in Hollywood. She married Tony Scott, and her name's Donna Scott. She's a good friend of mine from high school. And we all talked about when we were kids, what do we want to do when we grow up, right? And we've had several people like you guys go out and conquer the world. Donna still lives in Hollywood and still does. I think her claim to fame is being a fembot for Austin Powers. She did a great job. But let's go to the next step because this is a story I want to talk about. A small TV show called Little House on the Prairie. Some guy I do remember from Bonanza. Oh, Michael Landon. One of the coolest, best, one of my favorite actors of all time. And Bonanza was my favorite show as a kid. That and Gunsmoke, there was a tie there. And talk about your friendship and professional relationship with Michael Landon.
Yes, and Michael would be in my top 10 as well, like Robin Williams. And like you, Bonanza was my favorite show. The first color TV show on NBC. Yeah. Now, again, this story goes back to my mom. I'm working at General Service Movie Studios with my mom. My mom comes up to me. She says, Bruce, I hear that Michael Landon is shooting a film on Lot 9, let's say, Lot 9. So she said, why don't you go meet Michael? So I went over to Lot 9, and they knew me at the studio, so they let me in. Michael was finishing a movie scene. When he was done, I went up to him. I was very polite. I said, Mr. Landon, this is my card. If I can ever have lunch with you, it would mean the world to me. He gave me that beautiful smile. 2 weeks later, Michael Landon calls me up. We're having lunch, and I'll never forget this. He says, Bruce, this is kind of neat. I'm working on a brand new TV show. It's called Little House on the Prairie. So I started working with Michael immediately. One thing, Scott, that a lot of people may not know, of course, great actor, like he said,
Oh,
an
yes.
amazing actor. But also, like on Little House, he directed many of the shows. He wrote many of the shows. So anyway, working with Michael Landon was one of the biggest blessings of my life. And then segue, Michael turns out to be one of the most important moments in my life because of Johnny Carson.
Right.
And can I tell that story?
Oh, please do. It's an interesting story.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. So Michael Landon is guesting on the Johnny Carson show, and of course I'm there with him. He finishes up, and by the way, Michael was one of the favorite guests ever of Johnny
yes.
Carson. Johnny had mentioned that many times. So Johnny comes backstage. He says, Michael and Bruce, why don't you guys come to my home in Malibu? I'd love to invite you guys over for dinner. So I said, God, we'd love to go. I knew that Michael Landon would say yes.
Yeah.
So we go to Johnny. He has this palatial home right on the ocean in Malibu. So we sat down, and Johnny got out one of his favorite bottles of Cabernet Sauvignon, which happens to be my favorite as well. So he pours 3 glasses. He's toasting us just like this. He says, Bruce, this is 53 years ago. Bruce, I've got a great idea. Why don't you start a celebrity speakers and entertainment bureau?
Yes.
So I said, well, Johnny, that's a great idea. But he says, I have a PR firm. So Johnny says to me, well, look, I'll make it really easy. I'm going to be your first celebrity client. And then Michael says, hey, I'll be your second client. And then Ed McMahon calls me the next day. Bruce, I hear you're starting a celebrity speakers and entertainment bureau. So 53 years ago, that's how my speakers bureau began, thanks to those 2 geniuses. I'll never ever be able to thank them enough, Scott?
I do. It's amazing when I got on board with you. I looked at the lineage because what a story I got to tell now. I went to see Bruce. I wanted to see Bruce's office because it's a who's who of Hollywood, and it was the coolest afternoon I've had. And Bruce took me through every photo. Now it's like being at, what would you call, the Brown Derby, where they have the wall. Right?
Yes.
Or at the Palm in New York. It's like going to the Palm or the Brown Derby where everybody's photo's there, and every single person in the whole purview he's worked with. Now, one of my favorite, we'll get back to Michael in a second, one of my favorites is James T. Kirk, William Shatner. You did get the rep. To me, that's, I'm a Trekkie. So when I found out you were with William Shatner, it just did it for me.
Yes, I was really blessed. On the celebrity speaker side, when I'm dealing with the certified meeting planners, very often I'll ask the certified meeting planners, do you have a wish list for your event? Yeah. This particular event was a very big insurance association called LOMA, L-O-M-A, the biggest insurance association in the world. So the meeting planner said to me, we would love to book William Shatner. Bruce, can you book William Shatner? So at that time, I had never booked him. I said, I'll make 1 or 2 calls and I'll get to Mr. Shatner. I'll get back to you. So I got Mr. Shatner on the line. He said, Bruce, I'd love to do it. Obviously, it was a very high-paying engagement.
Oh, yeah.
So I flew to Orlando. He flew to Orlando, and I sat on the dais with William Shatner, and I was such a big hero because, of course, he got a thunderous standing ovation. But, Scott, what you'll appreciate, he was so nice. He agreed in advance with this big group at Loma. He took photos with all of the top executives. He signed autographs for all of them. Made me a hero, Scott, but William Shatner was just wonderful. I think he's now 94, but he was great, and I'll never forget how wonderful and warm William Shatner was. One of my favorite celebrity bookings, and thank you for mentioning that.
So incredible. To me, Captain Kirk, I'm a Trekkie from the old days. Let's get back to Michael, because being one of my favorite actors now, there's a legacy here with Bruce, with Michael's family. Bruce, talk about the legacy where we have baby girl now that's part of your group, Michael's daughter.
Yes, exactly. She is on that wonderful TV show. Name the TV show, Scott.
Was it
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention Yellowstone. Yeah.
I had coffee in my mouth.
No, that's all right. But she's doing it. And Yellowstone happens to be one of my favorite TV shows. And now they have the spin-off of Yellowstone. Anyway, so she is on Yellowstone and doing absolutely great. And his eldest daughter, Cheryl Landon, is still my client. Of course, Michael introduced me to Cheryl. And one of the most touching things to me was when he went to heaven way, way too early. He was only 55 years old and he had pancreatic cancer, and that was so sad. So Cheryl Landon, the eldest daughter, said, Bruce, I want to write a book as a tribute to my dad. So she wrote a book called I Promised My Dad. It was a Simon & Schuster book, became a #1 bestseller. And Cheryl Landon and I went to Chicago to guest on the Oprah show. So it's something I'll never forget. But one of the saddest things that ever did happen to me was with Michael Landon. Scott, for about 6 months, he had this stomach disorder going on. The doctors had told him it was an ulcer. So we thought, well, he's on medication, it's an ulcer. He called me here in Las Vegas, Scott. He says, Bruce, I could hear his voice was very, very sad. I said, what's the matter, Michael? He said, I have just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I don't want the tabloids coming out with a terrible story. Bruce, let's set up a press conference in Malibu. I want to be the one to announce that I had pancreatic cancer. So we did that. The saddest thing that I've ever been asked in 53 years of PR. He said, Bruce, please call Johnny. I want to make one last TV appearance with Johnny. I mean, I have tears in my eyes right now. So I was there for that last TV appearance of Michael going on Johnny, and Johnny came backstage after that guesting. We had a group hug, the three of us together. And Scott, the saddest thing, 3 months from that day that Michael called me, he went to heaven. 3 months.
Wow.
So, God, do we miss Michael? I mean, that just pierced my heart, you know?
Yeah, I remember watching the show. I did watch the show that night, and it was this sadness. And my mom started crying.
Yes.
And because, again, little Joe, and, Michael Landon just happened to be one of the best-looking guys in Hollywood. And my mom was a big fan. Him, Rock Hudson, and Elvis, of course. And so now there's a photo on, I think it's on your Facebook page, of a guy named Gerald Ford. I think if I remember right, he was a president. What was it like working with President Ford?
Oh no, I love your sense of humor. As you know, and I'll answer because President Ford was great. I started booking all the past presidents, beginning with President Reagan. But this is a story that you'll really appreciate. I booked President Ford at General Motors in Michigan, and of course, he was a football player in Michigan. So what happened, it was really great. This is at General Motors in Detroit. He gives this wonderful talk, and he got a standing ovation. And with all the past presidents, they have all the Secret Service that are there for them. So as soon as he got the standing ovation, the Secret Service stormed the stage, and they're ready to whisk him off, and take him to his limousine. President Ford, and I'll never forget, it was such a classy thing. He says, wait a second, guys. I think some of the people here in the audience would like to ask me some questions. He stayed there another 30 minutes interacting and answering questions. He could have easily just left, and he's paid. But that, to me, was an example of President Ford. He had such a heart of gold that it was important to him to please the audience by answering some questions from them. So, I love President Ford. He was wonderful, Scott. Absolutely wonderful.
People forget that he was a phenomenal football player at Michigan at a time when Michigan was killing everybody, and which was absolutely amazing. Now let's jump forward. Out of the Hollywood scene and everybody that you've done, who was probably the most unique person you worked with?
I would say, and it's interesting, things just flash. Muhammad Ali. Because my first two sports clients were Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson. Believe me, Jackie is right here in my heart. But the reason that I mentioned Ali, again, who introduced me to Ali? My mom. Yeah. My mom introduced me to Ali. So the first time that I met Ali, I said, Muhammad, you're going to really get a kick out of this. I was born in Louisville, just like you. We're both Louisville boys. So he got the biggest kick, and, he had that wonderful smile. Oh, yeah. But the part of Ali that really touched my heart, I know you're aware of this, I am a Vietnam veteran, and I was in Vietnam, and sadly in '68, my very best friend was killed in a sniper attack. He died in my arms. So I had a talk with Ali because over 3 years of his life, he gave up fighting
Yeah.
because he was a conscientious objector. He did not believe in killing people,
Right.
or he did not believe in war. And I admired and I respected that. And we had a long talk about that topic. And I said, Ali, the fact that you were willing to give up 3.5 years of your career because you're nonviolent and you did not believe in picking up a gun and killing other people. So I really always admired that about Ali. And of course, with Jackie Robinson, what he had to go through
Yes.
going into the major leagues, the hostility and the hate. So both of them, when it comes to sports, I booked everybody, but Ali and Robinson will always have a special place in my heart because they were the first ones. But
Yeah.
truly, we can use the word legends, Scott?
Oh yeah, Jackie Robinson's so amazing. Our son was in the movie 42 for a blink of a second, and it was funny because Jackie's roommate in the movie was one of my boys that I had taught, and
Wow.
I went to the set and got to hang out with them and talk to everybody, and I got to meet Chadwick Boseman before he passed.
Oh,
And
Scott, that is so special. And
what a
and
cool guy.
We went. Oh, I'm so sorry I interrupted. We
No.
went to the movie premiere for 42. I loved it. And imagine this. I mean, getting chills. We got to sit with his wife.
Yeah.
Which was such a special thing. But Jackie, I admire and I respect him. And the other part, my dad was born and raised in Brooklyn, so we went to many Brooklyn Dodgers games. So I was already a huge Jackie Robinson fan
Oh,
before I
yeah.
ever even met Jackie Robinson. So that made it even more special.
All right, so bringing up your dad, let's go ahead and get to your dad. Again, Bruce has got the coolest parents. Let's talk about your dad. Which hotel in Vegas was he running?
Yeah, he was running the Flamingo Hotel. When we moved here in 1956, that's when we
Right.
moved here. I was in junior high school. Dad was the executive VP and general manager of the Flamingo Hotel. And because he had that position, he and Mom would invite me to see all of the legendary entertainers going way back to the 56,
Oh, yeah.
57. So Sammy Davis Jr., Lena Horne, Judy Garland, Liberace, Frank Sinatra. They would take me to see all of them. But you're amazing when it comes to the entertainment area.
Yeah.
What really got me hooked on entertainment when I was 12 years old, they took me to see Sammy Davis Jr. at the Sands Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew about Sammy Davis Jr., but again, I was in junior high. So I sat in the front row at the Sands Hotel, and he always had as his closing number, Mr. Bojangles. So
Yeah.
he sang Mr. Bojangles, and as a young kid, I'm giving him a standing ovation. We went backstage because of my mom and my dad, and I said, Mr. Davis, you were so incredible. I now know that I want to work in entertainment. So this was at 12 years old,
Yeah.
the first time. And I said to my mom and dad, and we had a DeSoto back then, a DeSoto. I said, Mom and Dad, I want to work in entertainment. I know it's now in my blood. So a big thank you. And Dad ran the Flamingo, yes.
Yeah, I got to ask because I never got to see him in his heyday. Of course, I'm too young. But Frank, what was it like to go see Frank in that time period?
Absolutely great. Again, of course, when I saw him at the Sands Hotel as well, I was 12 years old, but he had such an amazing voice, old blue eyes, as they
Oh,
called
yeah.
him. Again, even at 12 years old. So Elvis Presley was my favorite
Yeah.
here in Vegas on the radio, Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel. But Frank Sinatra was so cool. I mean, he was just this great singer, and the way he sang, the timing, and the way he delivered the lyrics. And there's one story I must tell about Frank that's such a generous thing.
Yeah.
Another fighter that we represented was Sugar Ray Robinson. We represented Sugar Ray Robinson, who many people to this day call one of the greatest fighters of all time.
Oh, yes.
So when we were working with Sugar Ray, he had a youth foundation. It was called the Sugar Ray Youth Foundation. So we would have lunches with him every week, he and his wife, Millie. I said, Sugar Ray, why don't we put on a TV telethon to raise money for your youth foundation? He said, I love the idea. So I arranged the telethon, and we got Johnny
Wow.
Carson and Ed McMahon to be the host. But this is the Frank story I want to share with you. Frank had a beautiful home in Palm Springs, so I met Frank at his home in Palm Springs before the telethon.
Right.
I said, would you like to come on the telethon? He wasn't able to come. He gets out a checkbook. He writes a check, Scott, for $25,000 to the
Wow.
Sugar Ray Youth Foundation. But he says, Bruce, give this to Sugar Ray. I don't want people patting me on the
Right.
shoulder that I gave this. This is $25,000 for the Sugar Ray Youth Foundation, but, this is not for the public to know. So, I mean, what a heart of gold, Scott?
Yeah, it's amazing how many stories I hear like that from my friends, from you, some of my other friends in the business about Frank behind the scenes. A lot of people don't get about him. What's another celebrity that you worked with was absolutely wonderful behind the scenes?
Wow, another celebrity behind the scenes. So obviously, there are so many.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm just flashing on President Reagan because he certainly is a celebrity. He was a movie star.
Oh, yeah.
Before he was the president, and he had such a generosity to his soul, President Reagan.
Yes.
He was always giving gifts to a lot of the people that worked with him, including all the security guards and the Secret Service. So President Reagan was the one that came to my mind, and he had such a wonderful spirit. And definitely, Scott, because you're a great speaker. I've told you that before. You're an amazing speaker. All the past presidents was a gift in my life to book. He was by far the best of all the past presidents when it came to speaking. He was just so charismatic and had wonderful stories. And as you know, he had a wonderful marriage as well.
Yeah, he's got a great story. If like, take Bruce's advice. If you've never read the books on Reagan or the good stuff, the stuff that's true, read it, because he was such an interesting human being, which leads me to somebody you may not have worked with. I don't know, Burt Lancaster. Did you ever get to meet him?
I met him. I didn't work with him, but boy, when you talk about some of the greatest actors of all time, he'd be at the top of my list. So I did meet him at a number of Hollywood parties. But when you mentioned Burt Lancaster, oh my God, Academy Award winner, of course, and amazing. So yeah, I was blessed to get to meet him at a number of parties.
Because I always think of From Here to Eternity with Frank getting his restart and the Montgomery Cliff. And you're the last friend I have that's got a foothold still in old Hollywood. And let's jump forward. Modern day, let's think modern day. You've got so many cool clients. I went to Bruce's website earlier. Let me give you the website. It's Bruce Merrin, CelebritySpeakers.com. Let me give it to you again. Bruce Merrin, CelebritySpeakers.com. Bruce, let me ask you this. What do you look for when you onboard somebody? What's your criteria to get somebody up on your site and promote them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the number one thing, and again, it comes from my heart, what is their story? They've got to have a story that connects. I always like to use that Tom Cruise line from the movie that the girlfriend says, "You had me at hello."
Right.
The speakers that we book, I want them, when they come out on the stage, to have the audience at hello. And they do that by the story that they have. They may have accomplished wonderful, amazing things. We have, as you know, some incredible business speakers.
Yes.
They all have a different story to tell. And it's the way that they impact lives. And what I will share with you, one of the early speakers that really impacted my life was Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Yes.
Dr. Wayne Dyer is one of my favorite inspirational speakers of all time.
Yes.
And he had that ability to impact the lives of everybody in the audience. And he had a great, wonderful story. So it comes down to the story. When they're in front of an audience, if they have a story that really grabs them right at the beginning, tugging at their heart at the beginning, sharing some humor with the audience, interacting with the audience, those are the things that I look for. And I'm very blessed to be able to book with people that do impact those lives, because one of the biggest gifts that I can give to others is by booking really great business speakers. They impact the lives of everybody in the room, and it helps impact my life, Scott,
Yeah, it almost keeps you young. You work with so much talent, and I went back through the website today, and it's funny how many people on your list that I know. I just saw Wendy on the website, and it's I've been out of the game for 11 years. I'm back now, thank God.
I'm so happy. I'm thrilled.
But I can't tell this funny story. If you always have that friend you talk sports with. Well, mine is sitting here with me today. That's Bruce. We talk sports because he's out in Las Vegas. We talk about hockey. We talk about basketball. We talk about football because he's a UCLA guy. And which leads me, because you're the only person that doesn't get mad at me in the middle of the night for talking about sports, is a guy named Tarkanian from UNLV during the heyday. You actually knew Coach Tark, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Working with Jerry Tarkanian is one of my favorite sports things of all time. In 1991, of course, UNLV won
Yeah.
the NCAA championship, and I was working with Tark before that. So in 1991, Vegas was transformed in 1991, thanks to Tark.
Oh,
But there's
yes.
another thing that I think, again, talking about movies and film, that I think you and your audience would love.
Mm-hmm.
Tarkanian's favorite actor was James Caan,
Wow.
Jimmy Caan.
Yes.
So now here's the story that's amazing. I get a call from a casting director here in Vegas. She says, Bruce, we're casting for a movie called Honeymoon in Las Vegas. Do you have a Jerry Tarkanian lookalike? They're asking for a lookalike. I said, I can book Tarkanian for you. I said, who's going to be acting? The first actor that she tells me, James Caan. I said, my God, that's his favorite actor. So anyway, I wound up getting Tarkanian in that film, and it was such a great experience, Scott. I called Tark up. I said, Tark, can you meet me at Bally's Hotel? I have such exciting news. I don't want to do it on the phone. He meets me at Bally's Hotel. Tark, how would you like to guest in a movie with Sarah Jessica Parker, Nick Cage, and James Caan? It's called Honeymoon in Las Vegas. And I told him the amount of money was really a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
He just about dropped on the hardwood floor. He says, Bruce, you're kidding. So in that movie, if anybody watches Honeymoon in Vegas, they have a segment where they're gambling. They're all gambling, and they have Tarkanian with his towel. You remember how he always fights on the towel? So that was what his bit was in the movie. And every day after that, whenever I would see Tark, he said, Bruce, I've had such a blessing to work with all the greatest basketball players at UNLV, but guesting in that movie will be one of my favorite memories. And then he and James Caan became best friends. So that really touched my heart, Scott.
Coaching, you've got another guy that you've represented. It's one of my favorite coaches. I used to be a high school basketball coach, and he was one of the guys I like to learn from, Lon Kruger.
Yes. Lon Kruger. Lon Kruger. Now, Lon has an interesting thing that he accomplished in that he has coached 4 different teams that made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Four teams. University of Oklahoma is one. UNLV is one. Lon Kruger is one of the nicest people that I have ever met in my life. He lives here in Las Vegas now, and wonderful. And if I could, just a harmless plug, since you mentioned UCLA, one of my mentors was Coach John Wooden of UCLA. What did John do? He only won 10 NCAA championships. He only won 10. No other college coach, Scott, has ever done that. So he had that amazing principle that he taught all of his kids called the pyramid of success.
Yep.
So when he was a coach, whether it was Bill Walton or Lou Alcindor or Jamal Silk Wilkes, he taught all of his kids the pyramid of success. And when I booked him for speaking, and you know about this, he would talk about the pyramid of success to the corporate audiences. Yeah. But as a young man, again, going way back to the beginning part of my career, he taught me the pyramid of success, and I got to meet him and his wife at their home in Encino. So he was one of the people that was very instrumental as a mentor to me. And God, I love John Wooden. And you are such a class act. You'll appreciate this. Hanging in my office, I'm looking above right now. After every speaking engagement that John Wooden did, he would send me a handwritten note on John Wooden stationery. Bruce, thank you for booking me. I mean, that was just such a class act, and I really treasure it right here in my office. I've got one of those letters from John Wooden. So yeah, he was a mentor.
Yeah, it's funny as we talk about Wilkes. Wilkes was one of my favorite players, and did you rep him, right, Jamal Wilkes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Jamal Wilkes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's one of my favorites of all time. I have in my office. I don't want to get out of the chair right now.
Right.
He got a gift to me a couple of months ago. We had lunch here in Las Vegas. Mon ami Gabi, you love good food. This was a French restaurant. He takes out, it's a Lakers jersey, number 53, because Jamal Silk Wilkes wore number 53. He signed it, the Lakers jersey, he signed it, and he put HOF for Hall of Fame, because he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. So I'm going to get it framed, but it really meant so much to me that I've got a Lakers jersey signed by Jamal Silk Wilkes that is a Hall of Fame, memento. And again, this goes back to Coach Wooden in the UCLA days, because he was on 2 NCAA championships with John Wooden, and then Jamal Silk Wilkes was on 3 Showtime LA Lakers teams as well. So, yeah, Jamal Silk Wilkes is one of my all-time favorites. And by the way, we are all very spiritual. You and me and Patricia. His dad is a pastor.
Okay.
He's a pastor. Yeah.
It's amazing that you got to see UCLA when they were at the pinnacle. And a guy I knew was the assistant coach for Larry Brown when he won at UCLA. And to see that dynasty, and I always tell kids, y'all don't understand how good UCLA was. And during that time period, and I used to show film of those guys, especially Walton and Kareem, which leads me to, this is just an off-the-top question. LA Lakers, were you a Lakers fan, or did you adjust to that?
No, I was. Because what happened was we lived in Vegas 56 and 57. Then we moved to Sherman Oaks, California. So as a young kid, because I was living there, I was 13 years old at the time. So, yes, I became a Lakers fan with Elgin Baylor and Zeke from Cabin Creek. That's Jerry West. Yeah. And I booked both of them for speaking. So, yeah, I was a Lakers fan my entire life from 13 years old on. But of course, while I booked all of the Lakers, and this touches my heart, I'll never forget that I booked Kobe several times. And, God, it's such a tragedy that happened with Kobe Bryant. But yes, I've been a Lakers fan forever.
Yeah, it's great because you got to be there when Riles was coaching and Showtime. And I was always a Celtics fan. And actually, I'm a Hornets fan because I'm Charlotte, North Carolina guy. But it was amazing you go back and watch those games between the Celtics and the Lakers, and you see 10 people in the Hall of Fame. And it will never be replicated again. And so let me bring this around. We're about to go out of time. All right, let's say somebody's listening right now, and they want to get an audition with you. No, Bruce doesn't sign everybody. But what do they do? How do they get in touch? What's the process? What can they do?
Yes. Number one, they certainly can go to the website, which you had. They can do it that way. Facebook is so easy because it's Bruce Merrin on Facebook. So they can text me on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is Bruce Merrin. But they're welcome to contact me, and I'll be happy to talk to anybody that wants to get in the speaking area. Imagine this. When I met Dr. Dyer, one of the most famous of all time, he had not written the book yet that became one of the biggest sellers of all time. So when I started working with Dr. Dyer, he was an unknown. So I love working with people no matter what the point in their life may be. But I would welcome talking to anybody that wants to be a speaker. I would welcome it, Scott.
I can say Bruce is the best. He's my guy. And I just hadn't been able to go anywhere because I was sick. Bruce, here's the good news. I finally found a brain specialist. We're going through therapy right now. I think I finished my fifth therapy on June 5, which is great news. So maybe I can get back out there again, because that's
You
my
kidding?
goal.
I'm telling everybody, for 53 years, I booked all the legends. Scott is one of the best that I have ever witnessed. We'll get you on Delta Airlines, baby, huh?
That's right, baby, because it's not too far from here, hour and a half from where we actually 2 hours. But as we close, I just want to say thanks so much for being in my corner all those years. I've learned so much from you. But I'm going to speak to everybody. If you ever get a chance to go to Bruce's office, I'm telling you, it's the coolest office, and I've been to a whole bunch of offices. We all have. But Bruce's stories of Bruce, you remember this, watching all the Westerns and stuff as kids. You brought that alive for me because I wanted to know those guys, and you did know those guys. And it was so cool to relive it. You know, when I'm standing in front of the board and to see every single person I held up as a star, and you got to rep them. And as you look back.
By the way, I had dreams about Annie Oakley. I had dreams. Yeah, but no, I loved all the Westerns. Hopalong Cassidy.
Oh, yeah.
Gene Autry. I mean, on and on. But I loved all of those. The Cisco Kid. I loved all of those.
It's amazing. They just don't make movies like that anymore, unfortunately. Now, I'm hoping some of these other new movie studios do. Bruce, if you've got to tell some young talent out there something as we say goodbye, what would you tell a young person right now that wants to go out and be either PR, speaking, or a movie star? What would you tell them?
Touch people's hearts. I would tell them, if you have a story that touches people's hearts, then you will have them at hello.
Yes.
So create a story that impacts lives but touches the people's hearts. If you can touch people's hearts, then you've got them.
Yeah, great advice. That's what I tell people too. And in my genre, I always go, well, solve a problem, be the best at solving a problem, and be irreplaceable. Bruce, thanks so much for being my mentor, being my friend, being the guy that I can text at 11 o'clock at night and you don't get mad so we can talk about the Knights. Stanley Cup, baby. Stanley Cup, the Knights, the Hurricanes.
We got a shot. And Las Vegas Aces. How about them? Las Vegas Aces.
Oh, yeah. WNBA up there is pretty hot right now. Yeah. Are you guys going to get the baseball team or not?
Yeah. Oh, yes. The stadium, Scott, is being built.
Okay.
I drove by the stadium. They are building the stadium literally where Bally's used to be, Bally's Hotel.
Yes.
So the stadium is actually being built. So we're going to have them. I think it's 2028. I believe it's 2028. Yeah.
Wow. Well, our goal is to get out there. I've got to come out there and see my friend Randy Sutton, Movie Casino, and I got to see you, and I got to see my buddy Saville. And we'll get out there sometime. As soon as I get my head fixed, we're going to get on a plane and come see you guys.
It's going to be easy because I'm going to book you here in Vegas, and you take your beautiful wife, Patricia.
There we go. Sounds great, man. Hey, I love you. Thank you so much. And thanks for coming on today.
It was an honor, total honor.
All right, brother. I'll text you sometime and let you know my schedule. You got it. Thank you. All right, take care, man.
What a privilege.
All right, thanks so much for Bruce Merrin. Our relationship's real. He really is my mentor in the entertainment business. He's a wonderful human being. I love him. And I appreciate the fact that he never gets mad at me for texting him in the middle of the night about sports. And he's 3 hours behind, so it always helps. And we talk NBA, we talk football, we talk basketball, golf, whatever it is. And Bruce normally knows somebody that I'm talking about. All right, now we got to get to the mailbag. Now, remember, if you want to get set up with Bruce, he's one of the best. To me, he is. It's Bruce Merrin Celebrity Speakers.com, and Merrin is spelled Merrin. Also go to Facebook and LinkedIn. You get to see some of the cool photos he has on his Facebook page. So if you're ever in Vegas, it's worth lunch to meet him. He's such an inspiration to me, and he means so much to my wife and I. So, all right, let's get to the first question. All right, this is, guy, still having trouble reading, hadn't been an ophthalmologist yet. Got to get that far away from me. All right, what do I do when I'm at work and everything just keeps going wrong? Okay. Have we all had that day when we get to work and everything just falls apart? Whether it's the bad attitude at work, or you just dropped stuff, or you ran into something in the parking lot, or traffic was terrible anyway. And if you have kids, you know what it's like to go to work with vomit on your shirt. If you've ever had kids, you know what that's like. And then everybody's got an attitude when you get there, and the coffee ain't ready, and you got clients that are angry about something. And, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what that's like. All right. You have to change the energy. What will happen is your vibration, if you keep that bad attitude, let's say you stubbed your toe on the dresser getting dressed and it's my whole day's just been terrible. Well, yeah, because you're an electromagnetic field. And whatever you put out has to be received back. It is sowing and reaping in a way, but it's magnetic feeling, magnetic radius. So whatever your magnetism inside is will attract whatever that is. So what you have to do is change your magnetism. You have to change how you feel. Now, you can't think bad thoughts and think, you can't say and think two different things. All right, so take yourself outside, take you in the bathroom, and readjust. Readjust your magnetic field to where it will mirror joy, happiness, whatever it is. And it is possible to change the outcome of the whole day. You can go from the worst day of your life, if you'll change the vibration, because vibration's everything, change the vibration to something that you want to receive. It'll end that part of your day, and you can recreate a day. It always, Jesse Duplantis says this, I say this, Wayne Dyer said this. Create your future and walk in it. Your future has to be whatever you can believe or whatever you say, and it's based on the vibration you place out. This is just science. So that's how you do it. All right, let me get to the next one. I got to blow through these today. All right, this is Janice. I think Janice is from Chattanooga. I have a friend who I love dearly, but she's so negative. What do I do to get her to stop? Stop being friends with her? No, that's all of us have negative friends. All of us have the one who has a dark cloud over their head and they can't be happy about anything. All of us have that person. What do? Well, you keep the topics on something positive. And I'm not airy-fairy stuff. I'm just talking about, hey, what's going good? Like, hey, let's talk about this project. We're not talking about people. We're talking about things that are projects. Because when I get together with my friends, we don't really talk about people. We talk about stuff. How are we going to improve this? How are we going to get this done? What book are you on? As you saw, Bruce is one of my friends. So when we get together, we're always talking about stuff to do in the future. And so when you've got a negative friend, you don't want to leave them there. You don't want to leave them in the valley of negativity and darkness. Even though they may radiate it out into the ether, that's no fun. And the chances are they're not very happy about it, and they may not even know they do it, because where do we receive negativity from? Well, we mirror the people that programmed us. So if your mom and dad were negative, your family was negative, chances are you're going to be negative. It's like being around a quiet family. Quiet families are quiet. They have quiet kids because they don't sit and yak all the time. So with a negative friend, sometimes you can't be around them because sometimes the negativity brings you down. But the best thing you can do is be the positive friend. And see, positive will always outweigh the negative in a quantum world. So you can out positive their negative. You just keep redirecting the topics and the traffic of the conversation, and you'll get them off of it. And because if not, it's really hard to be around people who are negative, and it's so draining you have to distance yourself. But I've never had much of a problem getting people to change topics and move on. All right, let me get to the next one. All right, Tracy, Charlotte, North Carolina. What do I do with a coworker who constantly lies about me and others? Lock her in the cooler. Why do I know that's a woman? Because guys don't do that. You'll lie about somebody one time and a guy comes in and clocks you, and that's the end of that. We have a way of solving problems. Now, so I know this is a woman. So what do? Well, management normally has to fire that individual. Normally, you can't have a cancer in the locker room. Just can't do it. Pro teams trade people like that. Normally, you talk to them first, so you have management speak with them. You can speak with them. I don't know where that's going to get you, but you can speak with them. You never let a bully take over, so you always meet that head on, ask them to be quiet. I'm assuming this is probably a smaller company. HR is pointless, so go tell management. But a lot of times, once this behavior has been displayed, right, you have somebody displaying behavior that betrays people. In a company, you don't want somebody like that, because if they're talking about one of the employees, they're going to talk about the owner, they're going to talk about management, they're going to talk about management's family, owner's family. This is a never-ending cycle, because this is what they do or how they conduct themselves in life. And you don't want that person on your team. It goes back to when I'm consulting people, I have a consulting business. Well, half of it I do businesses, and then I do families and individuals. And we teach people how to hire. How do you hire the right person at the right time? Because if you've ever owned a company, I have, it's costly to hire the wrong people, whether it's they give you a bad rep and clientele doesn't want to come back and they're rude to the wrong person, or they chase off good employees because bad employees. When a behavior is tolerated at a company, the good employees see that, and then they go ahead and go somewhere else. So when you hire nothing but bad people, you end up with a broke company because all you have is bad people. You don't, it's you look for behavior signs. And remember, when you hire someone, you're not only hiring who you see sitting in front of you, you're hiring their mother, father, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, because that's who programmed them. People always go back to their programming. They can be cool in front of you in an interview, or they can do stuff. And what I'll do is I'll give them a specific thing to talk about that has something to do with the job. And then I'll go. It throws them out of their automatic pattern of behavior and their pre-prescribed answer they were going to throw at me. And now I can see who programmed them, how they respond, because if you work for me or anybody else, whether it's Bruce, me, anybody in the entertainment business, it is very stressful in the entertainment business. It can be. Well, you've got to be able to think on your feet, and I don't need your programming slowing that down. If you've got a programming issue, that's great. We just get it fixed. But I have to know where I'm starting, who I'm hiring, where I can and cannot place you, and how you're going to represent my name and my company. So all things to think about, something you want to definitely talk about there. Now, if you have any questions for us, which is, I like mailbag because it gives me a chance to help everybody. It's Scott, down here at the bottom, Scott, or show at scotferrell.com. I don't even know my website sometimes. And also you can find us on every one of the available social medias here. I have a great social media staff. My girl Jessica's like my own daughter. She's lovely. But I have a great team. I can't complain. Without my wife, I'd be a high school basketball coach nobody ever heard of. So thank God I have the wife that I do. Now, leads me up to, as we close, is there somebody out there you haven't told how much you love? Is there something you're waiting on? Maybe it's to ask your girlfriend to marry you. Maybe it's the new job, the move, the career. Just listening to Bruce today should have encouraged you to take that chance, take that step, and go ahead and start going after what you want. Bruce is my shining example of why not to wait and to go ahead and get everything done right now. You got one shot at this. Make sure you make the most of it. All right, I'm Scot Ferrell. Thanks so much for coming by. I'll see you next time. Take care.